Hello, everyone. This is Richard again.
Hello, I'm Mia.
Welcome to Vocab Marathon number 2. We're happy to bring you 4 new terms today. We hope that this will be informative. All right, let's get right to work, my good friends. Let's check it out. Today, our 4 words and phrases are going to be, number 1, the word consequence. Number 2, the word availability and available. Number 3, the phrase nothing short of. And number 4, in the wake of. All right, let's get started. Mia, could you please go ahead and give us the definition of the word consequence?
Sure. Our first phrase is consequence. Or we see the definition here, something that happens as a result of a particular action or set of conditions. And I think this word means something similar to result or effect, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So a consequent is the result or the effect, and usually it is a negative thing, right? It can be used as either a positive or a negative result of something happening, but normally we use it in a negative way, right? So think of something like, if you smoke, the consequences are cancer and bad health, right?
I see.
Okay, so let's look at some specific examples of the usage of the word consequence. If we look here, we have from the VOA again, we've got an article that says, will COVID mutate in animals and jump back to humans? Okay, so here we can see, just like I said in the last sentence here, emerging evidence that COVID-19 is gaining a foothold on wildlife could have negative long-term consequences for humans. So that's a very typical use of the consequence, right? Negative long-term bad results. We've got one more. If we look at the BBC article from February 2022, we can see here, the headline here is about pregnancy in Wales, right? Wales record low birth rate has consequences. Okay, so they use this word, record low birth rate has significant consequences. So here, significant, we use this also in the first video. It means big, extreme, right? Extreme bad results, extreme effects, right? For schools, right? So having a low birth rate is going to impact the schools in a big way.
I can understand.
Okay. Well, let's move forward then. Let's move forward.
And the next word is availability. And here is the definition, the fact that something is possible to get, buy, or find. And the fact that somebody is free to see or talk to people. And I commonly use available, but I don't really use availability. What is the difference between the usage of available and availability?
Well, that's a very good question. So the difference is simply just the grammar use, right? So the meaning is exactly the same, right? So maybe a simple explanation, a simple way to understand this, if we use the word available, okay, there's a very popular concert for Blackpink. Few tickets are available. Available itself, that's an adjective. Availability is a noun. So we would have to change the grammar use. So instead of saying few tickets are available, the same meaning, we could say ticket availability is limited. Ticket availability is limited. So it's a little bit more sophisticated way to say the same thing, right? So it's just a difference in grammar. Does that make sense to you, Mia?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. Let's take a look at some examples in use. Okay, so our first example is from the Washington Post from December 2020. And let's take a look here. More information is available about which college majors pay off, but students aren't using it. So here we see that first use, right? That information is made available, right? So that's the adjective, that's the basic use. The second one, what is this? Even as more information becomes more readily available, it's able to be used or it's able to be obtained. You can get it. It's something that you can get. Okay, so let's take a look at how can we use it, availability. In the next one, we've got an article from the Japan Times from April 2021. And here we see what in fiscal 2020, Japan saw the biggest decline in job availability. Okay, so job availability. So there we've got the noun version. So how many jobs are available, right? It's talking about those jobs.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's move forward. Let's move forward to our next phrase. Could you explain our phrase nothing short of?
Yeah, of course. And here's nothing short of, and used to emphasize that something is very good, very surprising, etc.
This phrase definitely, we emphasize that something is very nantoka, very something, right? So it could be very good, could be very bad, right? So we want to really emphasize. So if I said something like, Mia, you are nothing short of a genius. Can you understand what that means? What I mean is you are very, 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 very smart. You are very, very intelligent, right? You are not less than a genius, right? So we can use this for good things and for bad things. Any type of thing, but extreme or great, right?
And I think both like nothing and short have a negative sense, but like two negatives create a very different sense, right?
I see what you mean. Yes, yeah. In many cases in English, two negatives do make a positive, right? That's a common thing. But don't think about that for this phrase. Don't worry about that for this phrase. This is a little bit different from that idea. But that's a very good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's look at some examples though. Let's look at some examples of what I was talking about, that it means very this or very that. My first example here comes from the VOA from July 2020. Will Europe's recovery fund cause more problems for the EU? So what does this say? It says, nonetheless, Gutenberg agrees with EU bosses that the recovery instrument, right, this recovery instrument is nothing short of an historic step. So certainly this recovery instrument is definitely historic, right? It's a historic step. It's nothing short. We're definitely making new history because of this recovery instrument. Okay, now let's take a look at one more example. So that first one was that this is definitely history. Our next example from the Canberra Times from February 2022, ice core data research flips drought. Okay, what is this one? The research points to future drought means no rain, no water, right? Drought periods that could be nothing short of catastrophic. Catastrophic is a disaster. Is a disaster, is a terrible disaster that has happened, right? So catastrophic is an extreme word, but nothing short of a catastrophe. If the future drought, if we don't have rain, this will definitely be a disaster for catchments in Eastern Australia. Catchments is collecting water for the water supply. So this will be a disaster for Australia. They will not have any water at all. And that will be very terrible, right? So using nothing short of, we really want to emphasize the word that we're talking about is this is history, but this is definitely history, or this is a catastrophe. This is a disaster. This is absolutely a disaster.
Oh, I understand.
Okay, so we strongly emphasize something. Okay. Mia, we've got one more term. Can you introduce that last one for us?
Of course, the final one is in the wake of. And the definition here, if something, especially something bad, happens in the wake of an event, it happens afterwards and usually as a result of it. So I know the word awake, but I'm awake now.
Mhm.
And are awake and awake related in some way?
Well, again, that's a good question because you're right, you're correct. The word itself is exactly the same word, but don't think that, right? They are not connected. This is a different, right? So in our phrase, wake is used as a noun, in the wake of nantoka, right? So that's a noun. To be awake is a verb, right? That's to be awake. It's being, right? So what we mean here with this phrase, in the wake of, on the ocean, a boat sails across the water. And when the boat moves across the water, it creates waves behind it. Those waves, we call that wake. That's the wake of a boat. So the boat creates a wake, and that wake, those waves are the result of the boat moving forward, right? So as you explained in the definition, right, that what in the wake of means that it's a happening after an earlier an event, and usually it's a negative thing.
Could you give me some examples?
Of course I will. Of course I will. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Here we have an example from the VOA. 31 countries to release 60 million barrels of oil to stabilize. Okay. So we look at that sentence. The International Energy Agency said on Tuesday, they're going to release 60 billion barrels of oil from their reserves into the market in the wake of the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. So the first event is the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. And the result of this first event is, because of this first event, we are going to release that oil onto the market. And we have one more example. We have one more example from the METI. Okay, now here in from the METI, February 2021, a study group on creation of digital industry to be inaugurated, to be started. Okay, so let's see. METI established a study group to acceleration of digital transformation in August 2020, which held discussions on measures to accelerate, speed up, DX, digital transformation, among companies in Japan in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so because of the COVID pandemic happened, in the wake of that, we want to speed up the digital transformation. Because of that first event, oh boy, we need to speed up this digital transformation. It's become important. So that's the result of the first thing. How do you feel? Did that one make sense to you, Mia?
Yes, very good.
All right. Well, my good friends, that is all of our phrases. I hope that we gave you some good information today. All right. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.